Happy Friday, everybody. Let's do some dart or sit for the NFC home games. It's never going to get old, folks, until it gets really old. Welcome to Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. Woo! 3.5 horrible quarters last night, and then a riveting finish. Seattle 23, Arizona 20. We'll recap that game, how we feeling about Trey Benson and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Ken Walker going forward, etc. And we've got Cleveland at Detroit, which has been a very exciting 3-game baseball series this week. And now it's a football series. Philadelphia at Tampa Bay, Chargers at the Giants, Jacksonville at San Francisco, Indianapolis at the Rams, Green Bay at Dallas Sunday night, and Washington at Atlanta. Good morning, guys. Jamie, a good game broke out last night. It took a little while, but it happened.
It did. It was a fun finish after a very boring 3 quarters. And, thankfully the Cardinals, a few of their fantasy options showed up. But listen, Sam Darnold played very well, despite the fact that Jackson Smith and the Jigba did not next to nothing for him for the first 3 quarters of the game. And we have another running back problem in Seattle now that Zach Charbonnet is healthy.
It's the same running back problem that we had before the season started, and then certainly after week 1. But at least Walker looked great in the first half, did fine in the second half. I don't think there's any question who the more talented running back is. It's just annoying that Charbonnet is going to take away so many high value touches from Walker moving forward.
So how would you rank the 3 running backs in this game going forward?
It's easy to put Charbonnet third, and I think I'll probably just take Benson first, simply because I know that he's going to lose some of that third down work, just like Walker will, but I just can't help but think that he's going to be in line for more opportunities.
Benson, Walker, Charbonnet.
I think I guess it is easy to put Charbonnet third because you can just see the talent from Ken Walker. He just has something that most running backs don't have, but Charbonnet's got the goal line role, so I'm not going to dispute it. But that's the issue here with Ken Walker is Charbonnet is, at least this week and in the past, is not always, but this week definitively their goal line back. I don't know that he's always going to be their goal line back. Hopefully Ken Walker gets mixed in there. JSN, 4 catches, 79 yards. It's a pretty good game for only 5 targets. There are going to be some games like this, I think. I mean, they're obviously a team that wants to run the ball. They have a very good defense. And on the other side of the ball, let's talk about Kyler Murray, who got backdoored his way into 20.1 fantasy points. And Marvin Harrison Jr., what a ride, what a roller coaster it was for Marvin Harrison Jr., who was started in 58% of leagues. How do you feel about the passing game? You can throw McBride in there too. I'd say he's been a little disappointing so far, Trey McBride. He's probably averaging about 13-ish points per game when he was over 15 last year. So, Dave, your thoughts on the Cardinals passing game?
McBride's still a PPR stud. I don't think there's any 2 ways about it, and you're still going to start him in non-PPR leagues as well, so don't even sweat it. There aren't enough tight ends to pull him out of lineups. Harrison's going to be tricky. What I saw in the fourth quarter was a quarterback and a receiver just like playing freely and a little more up-tempo, and it just seemed to work for them. The touchdown that Harrison had, it's exactly why he bulked up this offseason, wanted to win those contested catches. I'm glad he caught that one. And I think you just have to view him as a number 3 receiver until he starts to develop more rapport with Kyler Murray and certainly see double-digit targets more often. Coming into this game, 6 or fewer targets in each of his first 3 games. That's not going to cut it. He needs to see double-digit targets, and he did in week 4.
I think Murray is a potential buy low candidate for one reason, in that a lot of production is being left on the field that's not necessarily his fault. So Harrison's drop that turned into an interception, that's 2 points he loses there. The week before, he has the drop passes that would have probably given another point or 2. What'd you say? Was it Bo Nix or was it Kyler Murray out? And you said where you tracked?
Bo Nix had about 15 fantasy points and just misses.
I'm sorry, I didn't bring that
Kyler
up.
did too. I mean, Kyler had probably a 50-yard catch for Harrison and then a long touchdown. So let's say 80 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, look, those things are going to happen, but it's starting to become a little bit regular at this point. So you could still see that there's good fantasy production potential for him. Although he didn't hit his 6-7 yesterday. He was at 5 carries.
6-7.
You're so happy about this now. I do think that the McBride / Bowers finish will be interesting, because if they don't get back to the level of what they were producing last year, we are going to have no tight ends drafted in the first 4 or 5 rounds at all.
Right. How about a 9.9 ADOT for Marvin Harrison against Seattle? Second lowest
good.
of the season.
That's good. They gave him a wide receiver screen the first play of the game or something.
Sure did.
Yeah, right. So that's what we like. I'm going to tell you right now. I tweeted it. I complained about it to Dave. Wide receiver screen for Marvin Harrison Jr. on the first play of the game. Ricky Pearsall does not have a single target at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage all year. I cannot stand the usage for Ricky Pearsall anymore. We'll talk about that later when we talk about San Francisco and Jacksonville. All right, just last question here. Do you view Marvin Harrison Jr. just as a default? Let's say in a 2 wide receiver league with a flex, because I know the answer in a 3 receiver league. 2 wide receiver with a flex. As a default, is he in your lineup or out of your lineup? Typically, most weeks, Marvin Harrison Jr.
How can I answer that without knowing who else is on my team?
I mean, do you think he's a top, 60?
What did you say his start percentage was?
58%.
Then he's most likely out.
Oh, okay. All right. So we got a busy weekend. We got 2 live streams on Sunday morning, 8:30 to 9:30, right before kickoff of the Ireland game. And then 12 to 1. YouTube.com/fantasyfootball today. Join us. We'll answer your starter.
Who's on the 8:30 one?
I think that's me and Heath.
No, I'm on that too.
Oh, you are? I don't remember.
Not?
I don't remember. One of you, I think some of you are on the early and some are on the late. Which one do you want to be on, Dave?
Oh, I can't be on the late because I'm on HQ.
Then it's probably you guys. Okay, it's probably you guys early and Heath late. That's my guess.
I can't wait. It's going to be a blast.
So we'll talk to you then. CBS Sports HQ is really fantastic. Dave, Jamie, and Heath are on it all the time. But look, what an amazing time of year this is. We have football in full swing. We've got Miami Hurricanes ranked number 2 in the country. So all your college football needs are being met. And we've got think about this weekend for Major League Baseball. The Blue Jays and Yankees are tied in the AL East. The Tigers and the Guardians are tied in the AL Central. The wild card races still have a lot to be decided. So go watch CBS Sports HQ. Oh, the Ryder Cup is this weekend. Watch CBS Sports HQ. It's on the CBS Sports app. It's 24/7 sports coverage. It's free. It's awesome. And it's the way that you're going to stay, focused and in tune with everything that's going on in the sports world. And obviously on CBS Sports HQ, they probably should be saying obvious stuff like Aaron Judge is the MVP and he's going to get robbed by Cal Raleigh because people like a nice sentimental story. Well, it's ridiculous. Aaron Judge is the MVP, but he won't win it. News and notes. Brock Purdy, limited. Mac Jones, limited. Which quarterback are you ranking for the Niners?
Purdy.
Purdy.
Okay, good. And Jaden Daniels, which is limited. Which quarterback are you ranking for the Commanders?
Mariota.
This is all subject to change, obviously. Nobody's been ruled out yet. Baker Mayfield has a biceps injury. It seems like he is going to play. But I don't think a quarterback has thrown for 200 yards against the Eagles yet. So we'll see if Baker can clear that. And Justin Fields is practicing. He has not cleared the concussion protocol, but he is going to start if he is cleared. And he's about 80% roster, Justin Fields. He has an amazing matchup at Miami on Monday night. We talked about that game yesterday. So if Justin Fields plays, where would you rank him?
Top 10.
Top 12.
Geno Smith's the start of the week. Would you start Fields or Geno?
I would start Fields easily in 4-point for passing touchdown leagues and probably Fields in 6 points as well. I mean, the matchup's too good.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I knew I was going to get some heat.
Matchup is going to be good for Geno too, but Fields rushing is the trump card there.
I knew I was going to get some heat for the Aaron Judge take. Guys, it's not even close. I know he's a catcher. That's wonderful. It's like 90 points in batting average and on base percent. It's not even close. All right. Running back news. Chuba Hubbard was limited. I did go pick up Rico Dowdle because Chuba Hubbard was downgraded to limited after a full practice on Wednesday. I don't know if anyone's concerned yet, but that's one to keep an eye on. Corey Krosky-Merritt practice.
Certainly beat the waiver wire guy.
Rico, yeah.
Yep.
Bill practiced. Looks like he's going to play. He was okay. All right. I saw he didn't, then I saw he did. So officially, Bill did not.
Officially, he did not.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Oh, if you read your GChat messages before the show, you would have known that.
Oh, my bad. I missed that. Okay, so are we worried about him playing?
We'll find out today.
Sure.
All right.
Hopefully we'll know by the mailbag.
Yeah, that's Friday afternoon at noon Eastern. Samaje Perine practiced for the Bengals. And Chris Godwin missed practice, but it seems like this was part of the plan.
Right.
So it was a planned rest day.
Yeah, we're still expecting Godwin to play, right?
As of now, yes.
All right.
Number 3 receiver at best.
Xavier Worthy still ranking him, expecting him to play. Guys, what are you thinking about Terry McLaurin right now? They're saying he doesn't need surgery right now, but Jamie, this doesn't sound like a great situation for McLaurin.
No, but it's weird though, because every report I see is he doesn't need surgery, but they haven't ruled him out yet for this week. So I'm gonna guess it's probably a pain tolerance thing, just based on the things that are being said. But until we get any sort of definitive answer, you can't plan on playing him this week. The fact that he missed 2 days of practice and getting second opinions, it just seems like it's not great. So hopefully this isn't something that's going to bother him long term. Hopefully he does not need surgery. From what I read, if he does have surgery, it's probably 2 months that he's out. So we already know, for example, Jalen Coker suffered a quad injury right before the start of the season, and it was deemed a 4 to 6 week injury. We're now getting to week 4, and Dave Canales saying this quad injury is still week to week. So sounds like it could be a 2-month thing for Terry McLaurin if he's going to miss time, but that's not anything definitive.
Okay, Malik Neighbors was back at practice. Are you guys getting worried about Devontae Adams playing this week?
Not yet.
Nope.
Okay, and Juwan Jennings missed practice again. Ricky Pearsall was back. Brandon Ayuk, this was big news too. Brandon Ayuk is not close to returning. So keep that in mind. He's eligible next week, but that's not going to happen. You guys expecting Colston Loveland?
Nope.
I wouldn't play him if he does play.
Remember this game we used to do you expect? We used to do that at the end of the news and notes. Let's do it again. Do you expect Isaiah Likely?
It's trending that way.
Do you expect Darren Waller?
Limited snaps, but yes.
Evan Ingram practiced in full, so we're expecting him. And Will Dissly missed practice. Aronde Gadsden replaced Will Dissly. He ran 15 routes. He had 7 targets. The 3 wide receivers for the Chargers, they also had a combined 7 targets when Aronde Gadsden was on the field last week or running routes last week. We can't have that. I can't accept that. And
why can't you accept that?
That would be horrible for everyone. We can't have that. Big news, I guess, would be Christian Gonzalez. Looks like he's going to play. Nnamdi Madubuike is out. I'm not going to go through all the Eagles had a pretty good injury report yesterday with their defensive players. Looks like they're going to get most of those, except for Nolan Smith. Most of those guys are going to play, so they're not super beat up. All right, let's take a quick break here. And
Federal McMillan back?
Yeah, he was limited yesterday. Well, look, I don't know anything. I thought Krosky Merritt. The thing with Krosky Merritt, I think he was at practice, but did not participate.
Right.
Let me double check.
He may have done individual drills, but they don't count that toward participation in practice.
Yeah, Tedero McMillan was limited in practice. I got that right. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break. One question for each game after this.
Absolutely amazing. Lamar dancing around the pocket. He does this so well. All the way for the touchdown.
Oh, I forgot to ask, Dave, any important injuries in the Baltimore-Kansas City game?
I mean, there's Madubuike. You already talked about that.
Okay, just thought I'd ask you about the Baltimore-Kansas City game randomly on a Friday. All right, one question for each game. Cleveland's at...
What did I miss? What is that?
I don't know. It seems like a pretty good game. When you look at all of the games this week, Baltimore, Kansas City really stands out as one of those really good games this week. Cleveland at Detroit.
You're not picking it. You're not. You're not.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jahmyr Gibbs are obviously must starts. Who's the next best flex option in Cleveland at Detroit?
Quinshon Judkins.
Yeah, I'd say him. Montgomery is also up there.
Interesting pick, right? There's some tough calls in this game, but Montgomery, you mentioned. I'll just say in the last 2 games, the Browns have held Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs to 27 carries for 53 yards.
Oh, go further than that because you factor in Chase Brown is 48 carries for 96 yards.
Oh, you know what? I have no respect for Chase Brown's ability to run the ball, so I didn't factor it in. But yeah, you're right.
But I believe he's the only one that has a touchdown against them.
Yeah. Philadelphia is at Tampa Bay. Did Jacobs score in that game?
No.
No. All right, Philadelphia at Tampa Bay. Rank the wide receivers.
A.J. Brown, Emeka Egbuka, an injured Mike Evans. No, Devontae Smith, and then Chris Godwin.
Okay. Dave, agree?
Yes. Wholeheartedly.
Chargers at Giants. Kind of a weird question, but is this a start everyone? Obviously, you're not going to start Jackson Dart, but the relevant guys are. Is this kind of start everyone game?
I guess the question would be, is Wan'Dale Robinson in that category?
As the number 3 receiver that he is, I guess. But Scadaboo is a must start. The 3 receiver. I'm asking, is the 3 receivers for the Chargers? Are we feeling good about this game in general for points?
Slot receivers have destroyed the Giants, so hopefully this is a good game for McConkey. It's hard to get away from Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston at this point, certainly in 3 receiver leagues. I think Robinson in 3 receiver leagues is definitely in the conversation, as he's going to be every week. So just, auto start him if you have him there. So yeah, for the most part, I guess so. I mean, Hampton's a must start guy. Herbert's a must start guy.
Yep.
Yeah,
Dart, I'm stashing. I'm stashing Dart. Anytime you've got a quarterback who A, runs and B, throws some league neighbors, that guy's got upside. And he's got a great matchup next week. So, if you've got, we talked about this on the stash episode. Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, they're not playing next week. There's a bunch of other quarterbacks that have tough matchups. Getting ahead of week 5 now is important. And Jackson Dart's one of those guys you could just stash, see how he does. If he looks good, he's got the Saints next week. You can absolutely start him there. And as for the Chargers receivers, I would rank Quentin Johnston the best of the 3. I agree with what Jamie said about slot receivers against the Giants. There's a bunch of short area receivers that the Chargers use. Obviously, it's McConkey, it's Allen. Gadsden could get into the mix a little bit. Quentin Johnston runs some short routes as well. I just think there's the most upside with Johnston at this point.
Okay, Jacksonville's at San Francisco. Brian Thomas Jr. or Travis Etienne?
No.
Etienne. So, by the way, can I go back to the previous game, Dave? Do you think Quentin Johnston is the best Chargers wide receiver rest of season?
I'm pretty close to being there, yes.
Wow. All right, you're buying it.
He does different stuff than the other receivers do, and he's more explosive and he's getting work. He seems different. Seems like he's just more locked in than he's been in the past. McConkey's a very close second. Keenan Allen's the one I'd sell high on.
McConkey does not have a single green zone target. He's just not getting any looks where it matters right now.
The good news is that he looks the same. It's not like he's slow or not agile or anything like that. So a terrific buy low guy. I just wish that he was getting more work. And the problem is that the Chargers are feeding everybody.
All right. Colts are at the Rams. Start or sit Daniel Jones?
I would try and sit him.
Agreed.
You guys have him about 16th or so. And he's been really good. I mean, he had scored 24.6, I think, fantasy points against Denver last week. I think the only reason he didn't have a good game last week is because Jonathan Taylor scored 3 touchdowns. So I guess why, Jamie, is Daniel Jones a sit this week at the Rams?
It's a good week for quarterbacks. So go back to what I said each of the last 2 days about there's a handful of guys that I think will have good performances this week that I don't think a lot of people are going to start. So he's in that group. But you got to give the Rams defense some credit. I mean, I know some of it has been matchups, but you've highlighted this quite a bit about going back to last year. Like, they've been very good at quarterbacks for almost a full season at this point. So I think it's going to be a little bit tough for Jones. I think he'll be right around 20 points or less. So does not qualify for me as a starter this week. And I think there are just some better, like Geno Smith for me is a better start than Jones. I would start Tua over Daniel Jones this week. I think there's more upside with him taking on the Jets. So, 2 guys that were not started in the last couple of weeks by comparison to where Jones has been.
Okay.
He's been spectacular, except when he's been pressured. His completion rate drops from like 80% to 50%. His off-target rate basically doubles. his yards per attempt average drops by 3 yards. It's the same story as it was in New York. When he's pressured, he's going to make some mistakes. There have been throws he's made where pressure's near him and he's on the money. I think the Rams get after him just like they got after Jalen Hurts last week.
Okay. And what are we at? Green Bay at Dallas. Who's a better flex, George Pickens or Javonte Williams?
I'll take Pickens.
I think I like Pickens better too.
I want to give a stat since this game is probably not going to happen. We're not going to talk about it for another 2 or 3 hours. My favorite stat that I found this week, it kind of feels like a long shot, but let's give it a try. Matthew Golden, he runs go routes on 27.4% of his routes. That's the 7th highest among 87 wide receivers with 60 or more routes. Okay, so if you missed all those numbers, Matthew Golden runs a lot of go routes. The Dallas Cowboys so far have allowed 5 catches for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns on go routes. No other team has allowed more than 80 yards on go routes, and the Cowboys have allowed 192. They get beat deep all the time. That is what Matthew Golden does.
This is breakout week.
Yeah, you said it yesterday. So I mean, look, it's tough. It's tough to evaluate him. He's not a top 24 guy or anything, but
no, you can't, start him yet with a lot of confidence. But I think if you're looking at it from the standpoint of, okay, my team needs this, and he's been on my bench. So flex, number 3 receiver, he's in, I would start him over Wan'Dale, for example, just if we're looking at it. Wan'Dale's floor is definitely safer, but the ceiling is much higher for Golden this week. I would start him over Trey Tucker, who's coming off a great game, and has a good matchup as well. But I think the upside could still favor Golden just based on his matchup as well. So it's still risky, but there's so much upside and so much potential. And you started to see a little bit of a flash last week against a good defense for Cleveland. So hopefully it starts to carry over and you start to see the guy that was a first-round pick and, somebody we were excited about coming into the season.
Would you start Matthew Golden over David Montgomery?
In PPR, I would.
Nope.
Dave says no. Jamie says yes. Okay. And Washington's at Atlanta. Starter sit Drake London this week.
Start.
You're starting Drake London.
Do you like London or Brian Thomas Jr. better?
London.
Okay. All right. Well, look, it's football time. It's football time at BetMGM. And when you register with BetMGM, you're going to get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, boost tokens, and the best daily promotions in the business. Plus, when you huddle up with BetMGM at your fingertips, every pass, every catch, and every game matter more than ever. Football is back, and don't miss out on any of the hard-hitting action. Place your money line, prop, and parlay bets with BetMGM today. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Okay, Cleveland at Detroit. I mentioned the stat yesterday, but the Lions averaged 34.6 offensive points per game at home last year. They've played 1 home game this year, and they scored 52 points against the Bears, I believe. Do we think, Dave, that the Lions, against arguably the best defense in football, are going to what kind of game do you think they're going to have offensively?
I think they'll struggle a little bit, but you're still going to start Gibbs and St. Brown, and I would expect good numbers from them. It's Laporta, Jameson Williams, and David Montgomery who I'd have some concern about. And Jared Goff. Those are the ones that I would say try and get away from if you can. It's really hard to get away from Laporta. So start him, hope for 10 PPR points. Maybe he scores. But Jameson Williams, I'd rather start Matthew Golden than Jameson Williams. I've been so disappointed with how they've used Jameson Williams this year. And Jared Goff, you can find a better quarterback than Jared Goff this week. Geno's one of them.
Yeah, highest average route depth in the NFL for Jameson Williams. It's just not working. Jamie, same question to you. How do you feel the Lions offense will do against Cleveland?
Exactly the same way. It's a great run defense, as we've just talked about. So Montgomery took advantage of Baltimore's very porous run defense last week and was amazing. But he's going to need to score in this matchup. So you can still get that touchdown from him because they'll almost inevitably be at the 1 yard line at some point. And that's his territory. So if he scores, you'll be okay. If he doesn't score, we could be looking at a game 1 stat line for him, which I don't think they'll be trailing because of how this game should go. But when they are trailing or struggle to run the ball, he gets more involved in the passing. He had 4 catches in that game against the Packers. So This is just one of those games where it's going to be touchdown or bust for David Montgomery. In the case of Gibbs, he'll be involved in the passing game much more, so that's why he's still a safe start. But I think Dave nailed it. Goff is easy to replace, despite the fact that he is at home and he's been amazing at home in his career in Detroit. Jameson Williams disappointing, and Sam Laporta I think is just like Hunter Henry's an easy start for me over him. Tucker Kraft, Ferguson, guys that were drafted after him, easy starts over him at this point. Juwan Johnson as well.
There's a terrible coverage stat that goes against Jameson Williams that I wrote about in lineup decisions this week. So if you're considering JMO, go read the story and you'll be convinced not to use him.
Go ahead. Give me 15 seconds.
It's man coverage. Browns use a ton of it. Jameson Williams doesn't even get a lot of targets against man-to-man coverage. You know who does? St. Brown, obviously, gets targets against everybody, but Gibbs too. Like, they're dominating targets from Goff against man coverage this year and last year.
On the topic of Laporta, the Browns haven't given up 30 yards to a tight end yet, including Mark Andrews and Tucker Kraft. They have allowed 2 touchdowns to tight ends, but we've got 2 streaming tight ends, I guess, on Cleveland. Would you start either of them over Sam Laporta?
If there was one of them, then yes. At this point, the fact that there's 2 of them, and we just haven't seen a lot of what I was hoping for, which is the volume in the Browns offense, last week in particular. So I'm hoping that they're chasing points and we see Joe Flacco throw it all over the place like we saw in week 1 when Fannin was great and Njoku was still okay. But yes, this is a defense that gave up a touchdown to a tight end in week 1, if I'm not mistaken, with Tucker Kraft. Week 2 was nothing. Week 3 was nothing. So it's last year was number 1 in terms of fewest fantasy points allowed to opposing tight ends.
Man, you hate John Fitzpatrick. Kraft did not catch a touchdown. Fitzpatrick did. You also hate Noah Fant, who caught a touchdown in week 1 against Cleveland.
Gotcha.
But okay, so you're starting over those guys,
right?
Yeah. Judkins, where do you have Judkins ranked this week?
24.
Low end number 2 running back.
Judkins or Scattaboo?
Scattaboo.
Oh, Judkins or Golden?
Judkins.
Okay. Judkins last week, 18 carries, 94 yards, and a touchdown against a very good Green Bay defense. 1 catch for 1 yard, but not a slam dunk start. Flacco, we'd love him to do something with his 40 pass attempts, but he hasn't been. Any interest in Judy or Tillman?
No. Only way would be is Tillman's still banged up, right? He missed limited practice or missed practice?
Let me check for you. I'm going to say limited. Let's see if I'm going to go two in a row here. He was limited. What? Yeah, man. I'm feeling it. All right. So sit those.
If he were to be out, then I would have a little more interest in Judy. But the fact that Judy's just been so non-existent, it's tough to trust.
Would you even have him in your top 30 if Judy were active and Tillman were not?
He'd be close to that range.
Yeah, well, he's going to be active.
I mean, Flowers. I don't know if I could be excited about Judy no matter what.
This was the formula, though. Tillman missed the second half of the season, and that's when Judy took off.
Yes. By the way, I have to apologize for saying that Carlton Davis shadowed Zay Flowers. It's DJ Reed.
So you said that Sunday night, and you said it Sunday night correctly.
Yeah.
And then during the week you missed. I didn't want to correct you, but I remember you saying it differently.
Yeah, you should have. I'm sorry about that. Davis was on the Lions last.
I only correct you when you spell things wrong.
What did I spell wrong?
Alex's name.
Oh yeah, Alec Kyle matter. Okay. So let's take a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson, who maybe 11 points. You starting a Browns wide receiver over him?
Nope.
No, I'd rather start Wan'Dale.
Wow. Okay. Really?
I'd rather start Trey Tucker than a Browns receiver.
Yep. Matthew Golden, Keon,
Brenton Strange, or I saw a question, Brenton Strange or David Njoku?
Still Njoku.
I'll say Strange.
Strange or Fannin?
Still Fannin.
I think I have Strange higher.
Fannin or Ertz?
Fannin.
Ertz.
Okay. Anything? Oh, Goff. I mean, we got to talk about Goff here. So Goff or Daniel Jones, who you guys don't love?
Jones.
Did you say Love? I'll start Love.
No, I said Jones, who you don't love.
I'm sorry. Daniel Jones.
Okay, Goff or Brock Purdy if he starts.
Did you say
Purdy.
Love? Because I'll start Love over them too. Purdy.
Goff or damn you, Dave. Goff or Mac Jones if it's Mac Jones.
I'll go Mac Jones.
I think I will too.
Last one, Goff or Mahomes.
Mahomes.
Homie.
And Montgomery, you like Judkins better than Montgomery. It's just going to be really tough sledding for him. So I'll see if I have any Montgomery questions in the chat. We can move on. How about Montgomery or Devontae Smith?
Smith and PPR. Montgomery, none.
All
I
right.
might take Smith either way.
All right. So that's kind of where we are on Montgomery. He doesn't catch the ball. He gets 11 to 12 carries every week. He hasn't caught the ball the last 2 games. Montgomery did have 4 catches in week 1, but it's just tough. This run defense is giving up 2.3 yards per carry to running backs. All right. And would you start a DC in this game?
The Lions.
Yes.
All right.
I believe the
Philadelphia
Lions have a good matchup next week as well. Yeah, at Cincinnati.
Nice.
So you can squeeze 2 weeks out of them.
Philadelphia is at Tampa Bay. Yep, stat of the game. The Eagles have not allowed 200 passing yards yet to Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, or Matthew Stafford. They all had 29 to 34 pass attempts. So starters at Baker Mayfield, Jamie Eisenberg.
I would sit him if you can. It certainly will help if Godwin plays, which is the way that it's trending. But he also has this biceps injury. It sounds like Wirfs is going to be back as well, so that helps. But I think this Philadelphia defense is going to be tough on him. Now, he has played them twice in the last 2 years and done very well against them playoffs. 1 game in the regular season, 1 game in the playoffs. But without Evans there, with a limited Godwin, because I can't imagine he's going to play his full snap count, like this could be a little bit of a tough game for him. This last week was the first time that he's gone under 200 yards passing and 1 touchdown since week 13 of last year. So do we see him have 2 bad games in a row? It's just a little concerning. So again, I don't think you need to necessarily run to drop Baker Mayfield to pick up Geno Smith if you're in a 10-team league. But if you can afford to carry 2 quarterbacks, I would play Geno Smith over Baker Mayfield this week.
How would you feel about Baker Mayfield at Seattle or versus San Francisco? Tough matchups, right?
Certainly
If you're in
Seattle.
shallow leagues, you could get away with dropping Baker because of the 2 matchups after. I don't really want to do that. You'd have to have like a really great bench to make a move like that. But it could be tough sledding for him. He might not have Mike Evans for those games. We don't know how Chris Godwin's going to play. He himself isn't at 100%. At least he's getting Tristan Wirfs back at left tackle. So that's a good thing. But there's a lot that could go wrong with Baker Mayfield. If Justin Fields plays, Baker's not a top 12 quarterback for me.
All right, just looking ahead to that San Francisco game in 3 weeks. 3 games they played without Nick Bosa last year. The Niners gave up 38 points at Green Bay, 35 points at Buffalo, and 13 points to Chicago. I don't know if it's just the matchups, but I don't think we can judge San Francisco right now based on what they've done. They're going to be a different team. Back to this
Better coach,
game.
though, too.
Defensively, yeah, Salah, yeah. Did you see what he said about Liam Cohen?
Yes.
It's about stealing signals. It was very, very interesting. He said Liam Cohen's really good at stealing defensive signals in a legal way. He didn't say it in a mean way. He said they do it legally, but we have to be really good with our signals.
I thought he was just giving Ben Gretch a shout out.
Yeah, stealing signals. Ben Gretch with a horrible take on Twitter yesterday that Cal Raleigh is the MVP. Wrong. Okay, so Baker Mayfield's borderline top 12. Start Bucky Irving, sit Rachaad White. How much do you like Emeka Egbuka? Seems like quite a bit. I see him around 15th in the rankings, Jamie.
Must start wide receiver. I mean, he's been fantastic so far, and now you hope for a target boost, depending again on Godwin's situation. So it's not going to be an easy matchup for him, but I mean, the catch he made on Sauce Gardner, Baker's not going to be afraid to challenge him no matter who's covering him, so they're going to try and do everything they can to take him away. But at this point, even if he struggles, you have to trust that he's going to have the opportunity for a good game. So to me, he's a must-start wide receiver, borderline number 1 guy. And I've gone back and forth between him and Jamar Chase, like just based on the situations in my rankings. Wow. So the upside for me at least favors Egbuka because of his situation more so than what Jamar Chase is dealing with, which is just so frustrating. Okay,
so based on last game that we talked about, we don't love Montgomery. We don't love Jamison Williams. We don't love Jerry Jeudy. We don't love Cedric Tillman. We love Emeka Egbuka, but what about Chris Godwin? How would Chris Godwin compare to these flex options for the Browns and Lions. And before you answer that, let me just say that I'm expecting some type of report over the week, half expecting some type of report about Chris Godwin's snaps. So whatever we say now could definitely change. You got to stay tuned. But Dave, Godwin versus some of those kind of fringy borderline guys.
Big risk. We don't know how much he'll play. We don't know how explosive he'll be. If he's only playing on like obvious passing downs, can he even get 6 or 7 targets in the game? I would be a little concerned. I don't think he's any better than a number 3, like a low end number 3 receiver.
Okay. So you don't like Jameson Williams. Would you start JMO or Godwin?
I think I'd go Godwin, which is a change for me. If you had asked me this last week, if it were the same situation last week and the Lions weren't playing the Browns, yeah, I'd say Jameson Williams all the way. But I just don't like how JMO's being used right now. I'd rather take the, what does he say? The mystery box with Chris Godwin. I feel like that's what he is. Hopefully we get a report that says he'll be full go, no restrictions. And then you can start him with a little more confidence and hope for 8 targets, 6 catches, maybe a touchdown.
Just give me a quick one on this. Any interest in Cade Otton?
He's an interesting streamer. I think just given the fact that what we saw last year, just take no Evans, because really when Evans came back is when Otton completely disappeared. But that 4-game stretch, which included the 3 games that he missed in terms of Evans and the 1 game that he left, week 7 against the Ravens, 3 of those games were awesome. All 4 of those games, he had 8+ targets. And so it's not a bad dart throw. I'll give you an example. I have a 14-team league. I lost George Kittle. I played Jonnu Smith weeks 2 and 3. I'm done with that. I'm pivoting to Cade Otton.
Okay.
You would assume in 3 games.
I know he's not getting.
There is a chance that he's a mystery box with literally nothing inside.
I totally agree. But again, you're taking something away, and the replacement option is not guaranteed to be 100%. So in the event of what could help Cade Otton, this is what you're looking for. So if you have him stashed in a tight end premium league, this is a chance to roll him out there. If you're stuck, if you're desperate at tight end, like I am in this situation, chance to take it, opportunity to take a chance on somebody that may have a few additional targets. And last year, was very productive in this spot.
Right. Last week, Evans got hurt. After that, before that, no targets for Cade Otton. Like nothing. There wasn't even a box. So I would be nervous. I think, Jamie, you did say it best, desperation type of tight end.
Okay. Sorry, I just got really mad at someone who's spamming the chat. Oh, I hate people who do that. Please don't do that. Oh, my own comment got rejected by YouTube. Wow. That's how mean it was. Don't spam the chat. Well, this guy, Jamar Chase for Jonathan Taylor. Jamar Chase for Jonathan Taylor. Stop asking. That's enough. You've asked 100 times. So I said, if you ask that question again, I'm going to rip my eyes out and throw them at you. And YouTube thought I should not say that, and they did not allow it. Okay, that was Cade Otton. Yeah, Sterling. Someone brought up Sterling Shepard. That could be if you're desperate. He's had 3 or 4 catches in 3 games.
I am very desperate. I think I'm starting him in our dynasty league because I have Mike Evans and Terry McLaurin and very little else at wide receiver. I even spent 6% of my budget on him. It was gross.
Let's talk Eagles. Let's talk Eagles. Here we go. Jalen Hurts is a start. Saquon Barkley is not as great as he was last year, but you're still starting him. AJ Brown's a start. So Devontae Smith, as for what I've gathered, is kind of like a number 3 receiver. I'm guessing he's around 30th. It's because kind of the vibe I'm getting from what we've said so far, Dave Richard.
I kind of like him a little bit more than that. I think that he can. I think that's the matchup that Philly exploits. They had a hard time running the ball against Tampa last year. Saquon had a great run, and you're starting Saquon, don't get me wrong, but he had 1 great run. Everything else in the game wasn't awesome for him. So the Bucs, we know that they're a good run defense. Their secondary is up and down. And I think that there's definitely room for Philadelphia to build on what they did last week. So I don't love him, but I think he's in that mix of like borderline number 2, number 3 receivers. So that's where I have Devontae Smith.
I have some Devontae Smith questions from the chat that are not going to make me rip my eyes out. Devontae Smith or Quentin Johnston, full PPR?
I have Smith.
I like both, but I would go Johnston.
Devontae or Keenan Allen?
Same situation. I like both, but I would go Allen.
All right. So Dave's going Devontae. Jamie's going with the Chargers guys. Chris Godwin or DeAndre Swift?
Swift.
Baker Mayfield or Brock Purdy, or drop Purdy for Geno or Tua?
Drop Purdy for Geno.
Agreed.
Okay.
Or drop somebody else. By the way, like if you're ripping your eyeballs out and throwing them at somebody, who are you really hurting?
Oh, man. YouTube, apparently. Dallas Goedert is about 15th in the rankings.
You remember Minority Report, the movie?
I only saw it once. I don't really remember anything about it. It's good, though, right?
Well, there was a very gross eyeball scenes in there.
Speaking of which, there's a show out called Platonic. Have you guys seen it with Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne?
No.
There is an eyeball scene. It's really funny. It starts a little bit slow, but it is laugh out loud.
Is
Hilarious.
it their neighbors characters or something different?
No, something completely different. But a reunion. It's good. It's got Shrinking vibes. Shrinking has been one of my favorite shows that I've seen in the past few years. So I recommend Platonic. All right, let's take a break. Game of the week when we come back after this on Fantasy Football Today.
Saturday afternoons, it's big time. Husky Stadium will be rocking when Washington takes on #1 Ohio State in a big-time matchup. Saturday on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
All right, welcome back. Chargers are at the Giants. Spelling of the game. If you were going to name your son Jackson, would you spell it like Jackson Dart with the S or like Jackson Smith and Jigba without the S?
Or
What
like
about just
Jackson, like Reggie Jackson.
JACKSON?
Oh, yeah, you could do a J. Okay, or you could do the JACK. Yeah, what would you, JACK? What would you do?
The C.
I would go JAXON.
JACKSON.
Yeah, me too. All right, here we go. Stat of the game number 1. Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen have had at least 7 targets in each game. Ladd McConkey's had at least 7 targets in 2 of 3 games. There have been 4 wide receivers that have had at least 7 targets against the Giants, and all of them scored at least 14.7 PPR fantasy points on receiving totals alone. So it's a good matchup. Okay. I guess my question about this game, Jamie, you guys have Justin Herbert in your top 5. You both have him 5th. Heath has him 2nd. Are you concerned that the Chargers destroy the Giants and this is a very run-heavy game and pretty much everyone lets us down except maybe Hampton?
It could be, but that just hasn't been the MO yet for the Chargers. Now, that being said, we finally got a good run game from the Chargers last week, and it was the first sub 20 point per game outing for Justin Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
But this Giants defense has proven to be very good for opposing quarterbacks. And I think Herbert has another opportunity here to continue to play well. So maybe he is ranked a little too high, but it is based on just how he's playing overall. And he's playing overall at such an unbelievable level right now. So I hope that Hampton can do what he did last week. I hope that the absence of Najee Harris, as unfortunate as it is, that we get that type of performance from him again in terms of Hampton. But I still think that they are allowing Justin Herbert to play at this level, which is not necessarily a Greg Roman thing that we've seen in the past and a Jim Harbaugh thing that we've seen in the past. So maybe it's, hey, we have this great asset, let's use it. And we have these assets at receiver, let's use it. So it may not be a 303 type of game for Justin Herbert, but I could certainly see 280 and 3, 250 and 3. And they could almost essentially do what they want to based on how their offense is operating and the defense is operating for the Giants.
Okay. So Hampton, I think, is a layup, but you guys do have Justin Herbert. I have a couple of Justin Herbert chat questions in the chat. Herbert or Caleb Williams?
I'd take Caleb.
Herbert or Drake May?
Herbie.
Okay. So you guys have him very high, and he's just playing really well. And this team is 13th in pass rate, but they're 6th in pass rate in the first 3 quarters of games. They had big leads in each of their first 2 games. They are throwing the ball. Dave, how do you rank and where do you rank the Chargers wide receivers?
Quentin Johnson is the highest ranked of the 3. He's on the border of a number 2, number 3 receiver. And then very close to him are McConkey and then Keenan Allen. They all work as number 3 receivers. They could all do damage against the Giants. I almost wonder if we're seeing the Chargers trying to make Justin Herbert the MVP. And like what we've seen through the first 3 weeks of the season is not Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman doing what they used to do. Now they're trying to really back Herbert and run the offense through him. And they can get away with that because he's got so many good receivers. Herbert himself has been making some great plays. The offensive line is a little bit of a concern, but overall, you've got to love what you've seen from the Chargers. I'd be a little surprised if this turned into a blah Omarion Hampton dominates the offense type of game. I actually think the Giants give the Chargers a game. I think this is a tough spot for LA.
Everyone always says that about the Giants when they're at home, but
and I've said a lot about the Giants. I ran my mouth about them before the season and certainly now, but I'm going to double down. I'm going to say that they turn the corner and they start to look better this week.
Dave wants you to stash Jackson Dart. Oronde Gadsden is 5% rostered and did some really impressive things. Yeah, so stash him. You never know. Scattaboo. I have a question in the chat. Scattaboo or Chase Brown? Scattaboo by a mile for me. And Devin Singletary is 4% rostered. I don't think he's going to do much, but he's the number 2 running back there. Start Malik Neighbors. We'll do a little bit more on Scattaboo in a second here. Wan'Dale Robinson is a number 3 receiver in full PPR. Chargers DST is an easy start this week. That's basically this game. Let's see. Scattaboo. Let's get who's a good one this week? Scattaboo or Kamara at Buffalo?
Scattaboo for me.
I have Kamara higher.
I mean, I'm just so interested. Scattaboo might be a must start if he's going to be the goal line back, which he obviously is, and just involved in the passing game. What, do you have 8 targets last week? No, we just don't know.
8 targets, 6 catches.
New quarterback, don't know the tendencies, but
and a more mobile quarterback.
A more mobile quarterback.
That hurts him a little bit.
Yeah, probably good. Right. Going to be less dump offs and more runs. Travis Etienne or Cam Scattaboo? Etienne's at San Francisco.
I'll take Scattaboo.
I'll take Etienne.
Might see a little bit more Bachel Tootin this week.
Oh, that'd be nice. Get him while you can. Some questions for you from the chat. Devontae Smith or Quentin Johnston?
Smith.
Oh, we answered this one already. I'll take Johnston.
Oh, right. We did that one for last game, didn't we? Let's go to Quentin Johnston or Tyler Warren?
Johnston.
Scattaboo or Chase Brown, I asked you guys. Oh, yeah, you said Scattaboo, right?
Scattaboo.
Scattaboo.
Okay, pick 2 here. Keenan Allen, DK Metcalf against Minnesota, Tony Pollard against Houston, Pearsall against Jacksonville.
First one and the last one.
Yep.
Keenan and Pearsall. Is Scattaboo the Bucky Irving this year?
That'd be great.
Who's got a better chance of being this year's Bucky Irving? Scattaboo or Tootin?
I mean, there's more tie-ins to Tootin being the Bucky Irving because of the coach, but clearly, if you're talking about a rookie that had not high expectations and moderate expectations, then it's Scattaboo.
Why can't they both be?
Why can't they?
That's a great call. Well, maybe Scattaboo is just a better Tyrone Tracy, and Tootin is Bucky Irving.
Maybe Scattaboo is Chase Brown, and Tootin is Bucky.
Those were the 2 best rookie running backs last year.
Well, who was?
Tracy and
Bucky. Tracy and
right. Chase Brown wasn't a rookie last year, just a breakout.
I was trying to get to this very important question from Rugg. South Park, Family Guy, or Simpsons?
Simpsons, but I love all 3.
Simpsons, then South Park, then Family Guy. Okay, moving on to our next game. Let's go to, what do we got? Jacksonville at San Francisco. Here's a stat I like. 49ers pass rate the last 6 seasons. 58.2%. That was really high 6 years ago. Then 52%, 52%, 51%, 56%. And this year, 59.4% pass rate. They are throwing the ball a lot more, and we need that. But here's the stat I hate. Ricky Pearsall has 0 targets at or behind the line of scrimmage. Juwan Jennings, for example, has 2. And he's played like a game and a half, basically. Ricky Pearsall has 2 targets of 5 or fewer air yards. I looked at every wide receiver that has 2 or fewer targets, actually 4 or fewer targets of 5 or fewer. Sorry, 2 or fewer targets, 5 or fewer air yards. There are almost no good wide receivers in that category. It's Pearsall, it's T. Higgins. I may have missed the name, but the bottom line is, if you want wide receivers to be successful, they usually have to have some easy targets, some screens, some. Marvin Harrison Jr. got 1.9 fantasy points on the first play of the game. It was so easy. This never, ever happens for Ricky Pearsall, and it's pissing me off. His ADOT's been about 15 yards or higher all 3 games, and I don't know how sustainable it is. That being said, I'm sure he is a clear must start this week. But if you want to talk about how you feel about him long-term with the usage, plus the good news for him anyway, of Ayuk not being ready in a while, Jamie, your overall thoughts on Ricky Pearsall?
I mean, clearly, whenever there's no Juwan Jennings, and especially when George Kittle's out, he's a must-start receiver. So whether he's a number 2, number 1, should be a top 20 caliber player, he's going to get opportunities. We saw it last week. I think in the case of Brock Purdy coming back, that should be a plus. So hopefully that's something that continues to happen. 2 of 3 games he's been good so far this season. The one game he wasn't was when he was out targeted by Juwan Jennings. So
Juwan Jennings and McCaffrey.
I think there's just an opportunity here, especially in what I would consider still a favorable matchup. It's a great scenario for him. So yes, you'd like to see different things happening for him. Remember, he's still not even a full season into his NFL career because of all the missed time from last season following the gunshot. So there's still room to grow and room to get better. Now, that being said, one of the more obvious sell high candidates because of Jennings coming back and Kittle coming back and eventually Ayuk coming back. So it's not sell to sell. It's sell to get something great in return. But you do see a potential downturn for him coming when the other guys are there, especially if McCaffrey continues to perform like this. So you ride this out with Ricky Pearsall if you have him. And, if you're looking to trade, like I'll give you an example in one league. I won't say it because we're all in it, but somebody offered me Ricky Pearsall for Jaylen Warren. And that's not a deal I'm willing to make right now.
No.
So
You'd rather have Warren.
I would rather have Warren. Yes. So I like Pearsall and I could use a third receiver, but it's not something I think that's beneficial to my roster at this point because I think Warren has more long-term standing potential than Ricky Pearsall.
Okay. To the
By the
stars.
way, we're getting some comments, which I think are worth putting up about Dave Shirt saying Pede Power because of what's covered. It's very funny.
It's hilarious.
Speed.
Folks say
Oh.
speed, but
That's awesome. Oh, that's so Schneier of you. All right, to the starts and sits for Jacksonville at San Francisco. Starters at Trevor Lawrence.
I would sit him.
I would sit Trevor.
Did I ask you Scadaboo versus ETN? I forgot. I'm sorry.
I think you did. I would take Scadaboo.
I'd take ETN.
You guys are quite a little bit different on ETN. Jamie 22nd, Dave 15th. Dave more optimistic here.
More optimistic. We've seen Tootin already come in and take work away from ETN. So being the high guy on ETN suggests that I still think he's going to lead the way in carries. Still think he can score. And I think this 49ers defense is going to take a step back without Bosa. You talked about how many points they gave up last year without him. 2 or 3 games. They were against good offenses. Just think that ETN is still the better running back in Jacksonville and still the one that you can trust in fantasy.
Okay. And Jamie a little bit hesitant.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a big absence clearly when you take Nick Bosa off the field, and I think again the performance had as much to do with the offenses that they played comparatively to him not being there. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much the Jaguars will take advantage of that. They're in a very weird spot right now. Their receivers are not performing as expected. Brian Thomas Jr. clearly has got something going on. Travis Hunter is just not, I think, adapting well to the NFL, playing both sides of the ball, and they're not moving him around. They're playing him in one spot at this point. So trying to limit his opportunities, I don't know if that's the best way to utilize him. So what we've seen so far, and this could easily be something if you're looking for desperation plays, like, Dave gave you the example of being desperate and starting Sterling Shepard. I would go get Parker Washington at this point, for a guy that in week 1 had no targets and the last 2 weeks has 16. Clearly he is a big part of what their game plan is and where Trevor Lawrence is looking. You asked about Bretton Strange. If I had the opportunity to pick up Bretton Strange, I would do so over Cade Otton, for example, because Strange has had 2 of 3 decent games so far this year with 9.9 PPR points or more. Mm-hmm. So there's other things at play here. But if you're saying Trevor Lawrence is going to have to win with Parker Washington and Bretton Strange, I'm starting other fantasy options right now. So I'm just concerned that Brian Thomas Jr., until he gets everything settled and right, is not worth starting in 2 receiver leagues and not the type of player right now that is going to necessarily help Trevor Lawrence's total to be worth starting as a fantasy quarterback this week.
Love hearing all that. If Parker Washington were available in the Dynasty League, I would have 110.
No, I understand.
Now I know I'm going to get a trade offer because I know who's got Parker Washington in YOLO.
I was honestly legitimately pissed at myself when I saw yesterday in 2 of our leagues that Heath picked up Parker Washington because I thought I had him everywhere.
Right. Yeah. No, I look for him too. I got him in a couple of leagues.
Well, let's give
whatever.
me.
But he's not a bad stash. You're right about him. I think he looks like he's on the same page with Trevor more than Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah. So there was a good article on CBSSports.com by JP Acosta about the Jaguars offense. And one of the takeaways was they seem close. They are dropping a lot of passes, but they're designing some good stuff, and they have a decent EPA, expected points added, even with all the drops. So it could be that their offense, if they can get things together, stop dropping passes, that they could have a nice year. With that being said, Brian Thomas Jr., Jamie has him 32nd, and Dave has him 19th. So that's a huge difference in the way you guys rank him. I'm looking for some Brian Thomas Jr. Questions. BTJ or PBJ?
I'll take PBJ at this point.
Strawberry or grape?
Brian Thomas Jr. or Scadaboo?
Scadaboo.
I'd go Scadaboo.
Brian Thomas Jr. or Judkins?
Judkins.
I still have BTJ over Judkins.
Brian Thomas Jr. or Jalen Warren?
Warren.
Thomas.
Brian Thomas Jr. or George Pickens?
Pickens.
I have BTJ very close to Pickens in my rankings.
All right. So Dave still has some faith as a number 2 wide receiver. And
I hope I'm wrong. I really do. Like, I love this kid. I think he's got so much upside potential. It just, everything looks bad right now. Like, the fact that he's alligator arming passes, dropping passes, afraid to go over the middle sometimes is what it seems like. There's just something at play right now with him and Trevor Lawrence. It just seems as if there's got to be a correction coming, and hopefully it does. And look, you still see it. You saw the 40+ yard catch last week. You saw the design run in week 1, to get him some manufactured touches. He scores that way. But despite the fact that he has a touchdown on the season, he's 3 straight games under 10 PPR points. That's very difficult to do with all the targets he's getting.
It's true. I've got a lot of FOMO. I drafted him in round 1 or round 2, and I want to see him do well. And the fact that he still has speed, so much speed, just it's a little intoxicating for me. And I want to, not miss out when he has a couple of big catches or he has the connection with Trevor Lawrence. And going back to Bosa, like, Trevor should have time to throw downfield. And if somebody can scheme him up and get him going, it's Liam Cohen.
Okay. So
I'm not ready to quit Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah. And listen, to be fair, again, where I have him ranked, you're starting him in 3 receiver leagues. I personally have him in about 5 leagues. They all happen to be 3 receiver leagues, so I'm still starting him.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Full disclosure there. So for the Niners, McCaffrey's easy. Pearsall's easy. If Jennings plays, where would you put Pearsall?
I would drop him a few spots, but he would still be a number 2 receiver. For example, I would start him over Brian Thomas Jr. still. Jennings would be in the low-end number 3 receiver range because he's clearly not right. Like, missing practice after missing a game is never a great sign.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Purdy or Gino? Definitely Gino. Right?
Gino.
Purdy over under 20 fantasy points.
Over.
Question every week. It'll be over, but it might be like 22.
He's a pretty good player, and they're throwing the ball a lot. So Jacksonville, so far they've been good against quarterbacks, but they faced Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and the Jacksonville quarterbacks actually scored 31 fantasy points against
Bengals.
Yeah, sorry. The Bengals guys scored 31 points against Jacksonville. Purdy, yeah, all right. So he'd be kind of, I don't know, low-end, borderline guy. Question from the chat. Kyle Pitts or Brenton Strange?
Strange.
Pitts.
Pearsall or Dobbins, PPR?
Pearsall.
Oh, I might go Dobbins.
Adam, I will make you an all-organic fruit salad. Love that. Is Travis Hunter droppable in all formats?
Yeah.
Definitely not in Dynasty. Definitely not in long-term keeper leagues. In redraft leagues that you have options on waivers, yes, he's droppable.
Okay. Lawrence or Bryce Young?
Lawrence. No, actually, no, I don't go Bryce Young.
I have... Boy, they're way down. I have Lawrence 1 spot ahead of Young.
Trade Rashee Rice for Brian Thomas Jr.?
If you're 1-2 or 0-3, then yes, explore trading Rashee Rice because by the time he comes back, you may be 1-6. So or 1-5, excuse me. Yes, I would make that trade. I would look for something better, but I would make that trade.
All right, fellas, here we go.
Well, Heath made a trade yesterday, if you saw.
Heath made a trade. He traded CeeDee Lamb for who was
Brian
it?
Thomas Jr.
Brian Thomas Jr. Interesting. Okay.
I
All right,
don't like
let's
that
go to
trade.
our next game. Indianapolis is at the Rams. Colts are 3-0. Beat Miami 33-8. Denver by 1. Tennessee by 21. They're 4th in points per game. They're 1st in yards per play. They're 9th in points per game allowed. They're 14th in yards per game allowed, or yards per play allowed. 3rd in time of possession, and the Colts have not turned the ball over. Who wins this game? Colts at Rams.
Rams.
Okay, I'm not going to talk about Daniel Jones again here. If you missed it, one question for each game. We talked about him a lot. He's number 16 for Dave and Jamie. Figure he should be around 20 fantasy points. I feel like I'm a little more optimistic just because I think he actually played great last week at Tennessee, but Jonathan Taylor had 3 touchdowns and Jones threw only 25 passes. But I understand where you guys are coming from. Start Jonathan Taylor, sit Josh Downs. What about Michael Pittman? How about Pittman versus Brian Thomas Jr.?
Easy Pittman for me.
I still have BTJ higher, but again, it's close. Like he's in that same range of
And it's the game of the week. Yeah! The Colts at the Rams. Daniel Jones, game of the week. And it's the game of the week. Hey!
kind of suspect lyrics there at the end.
Yeah. But I don't think you were expecting this game, but I'm feeling this game. It's going to be a good one.
So what are you feeling? What's the vibe with Daniel Jones? Because I feel like this is the game that he falls off. Great for 3 weeks. And we've seen it a million times where a player looks good, who's a surprise. And then after a certain amount of time, there's enough film on him that defenses figure him out and he turns into a pumpkin. I think this is the pumpkin game for Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it could happen. You still see, even when he's playing great, a few moments that are, oh, that's Daniel Jones.
Right.
You know, a few like really weird throws. But I don't know. I think he's just operating this offense at a very high level. I think their line's been pretty good. And if he can go to Denver, look what Justin Herbert just did at Denver. He got his butt kicked all game. Scored 16 points. Daniel Jones scored almost 25. So I understand the hesitation, but to start him. But I don't think this is going to be the week he turns into a pumpkin. He's playing very well. And I believe in the offensive pieces. I think that's what it is. I believe in the coaching. I believe in I believe in this offense. They needed a competent quarterback to keep them on schedule, hit the first read a lot because guys are open. They run a lot of screens to Tyler Warren and stuff like that. Like they're doing the right thing, getting the ball in the hands of their playmakers. And I like the way the Colts are playing, and I really like the Rams. So I just think this is going to be a good game.
I just think it's going to be a low scoring game because of how the Colts. I don't know if you'll get the second touchdown from Daniel Jones. Now he can get you one passing, one rushing because we've seen that. That's basically what he's averaging.
Yep.
And so he could still be good enough. He's not going to throw on the Rams like Jalen Hurts just did. And the rushing production has been touchdowns, not necessarily yards yet. He definitely has that in his ability. But this also is still Jonathan Taylor and how great he's been, especially the last 2 games. So, again, how much will he take away some of those fantasy points from Daniel Jones? So I don't think he's a horrible start. I do think that this is just not a great fantasy game for him.
Yeah. No, I don't want to get too into Daniel Jones. I think you guys are good.
Again, like I said, several times. This is a good week for quarterbacks.
Sure.
This is I know I have Daniel Jones in one league where I like too many parts on my bench that I don't want to drop anybody, and I don't want to drop Jones to find a replacement. But you can go that route, especially you want to drop him on a Saturday and see if he does have the game that Dave's expecting where he turns into a pumpkin, then nobody's going to be rushing to go get him. And so, you have that potential still out there. But I think he has played well enough. This could easily be the Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield of 2025. And he is doing, like you said, Adam, a lot of great things. And, just to pivot to Pittman, he's had 2 very great games, 2 great games. Mm-hmm. The one where he didn't was Patrick Surtain and the Broncos. And so, me, I love these intangibles. So it's first time for going back to play in Los Angeles for a kid that played at USC. Surprised that he's never played there in his career.
Interesting, yeah.
So I'm sure that's going to matter to him as well. But he's just commanding targets. He's doing very well with them. And I think as you saw from the Rams last week, when they're faced with a number 1 receiver who's going to get opportunities, they struggled.
Okay.
You know me. I'm not a Pittman guy, and I like him as a number 2 receiver this week.
Good.
Targets haven't been huge for him, but neither of the pass attempts for Daniel Jones. And if the Rams force the issue, the Rams put up points, Daniel Jones has to throw, it could mean 8+ targets for Pittman. So I like him plenty.
And Tyler Warren is an easy start here. The
Yes.
Rams are just an easy team, right? By the way, Stafford or Daniel Jones? Kind of a good question there, right? Close.
Jones,
It's close. I like Stafford better.
especially if there's no Devontae Adams.
Right. But we're planning.
Yeah. If there's no Devontae Adams, then you've got to start Jones.
They're an easy team. Stafford is never going to be a great start because going into a week because he, doesn't run ever, but he's a good player. And Kyron's you're going to start, and Adams and Puka you're going to start, and the Rams tight ends you're not going to start. So this is kind of an easy team to preview. But question for you: if Devontae Adams were out, would there be a sleeper, and who would it be?
I'd probably go Jordan Whittington just based on his, chance to maybe get a few of those short area targets that the Rams like to, mix in every now and then. But it could be Tutu Atwell. This is a guy that they paid this offseason. Could be Tyler Higbee. Maybe they start to get Terrence Ferguson involved a little bit more, but it would be nobody that you would want to start. But Whittington would be the one, especially if this is a long-term injury for Adams, which it doesn't seem to be. But if for whatever reason we find out, he's going to be out a couple weeks for whatever, like that's a good stash candidate right now is Whittington. So if you have an open roster spot, you want to get ahead of it before we find out Friday that he's maybe missing this week, then that's a good guy to go pick up right now.
But I would rather have Parker Washington.
Oh, yeah.
Example. There are receivers out there that you should probably stash before Jordan Whittington. I could also see the Rams have an uptick in 2 tight end sets, try and negate that pass rush for the Colts a little bit, then use play action, use the tight ends. They're not enough to like Higbee or anybody else.
2 comments in the chat. One that you can still read from Baba Ganoush. He's the one that first pointed out Dave's t-shirt. And he just said that hashtag Pete Power should replace hashtag Keon. And then
it might after this week.
And then Ben, our resident Saints fan, he had a very good comment when you did Game of the Week. And he said, I'm assuming tying it into Dave's shirt, nothing can disrupt Dave's flow.
All right, we're going to take a break. That'll disrupt Dave's flow. By the way, the Rams DST is 10th or 11th for everybody. We'll be back with Green Bay at Dallas after this.
Sail GP returns to the Iberian Peninsula for an action-packed weekend at the DP World Spain Sail Grand Prix. Don't miss a defining moment of the Rolex Sail GP Championship on CBS Sports Network.
Amazing weekend, guys.
You ever watch one of those races?
No.
They're so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yep.
Cool. Good to know. What race are you talking about for the audio audience?
The Sail GP race that you can watch on CBS Sports Network.
Nice. All right, Jordan Love is 9th for Dave and Jamie, 6th for Heath. Yeah, so I guess the same question about this game as I had about the Chargers, right? Except Chargers have 3 good receivers, and the Packers so far haven't really had any. Are you worried about pass volume? Are you worried about the Packers just destroying the Cowboys? And, we got 25, so far 22, 31, and 25 pass attempts for Jordan Love. Yeah, how does that make him a safe start, I guess, Dave?
It doesn't. And you've got to be a little concerned about that. But the upshot and efficiency is what you kind of cling to with Jordan Love. And understanding that it's the Cowboys defense and that they're a mess, especially in their pass rush. They're adding Jadeveon Clowney, hoping that he fixes things. Now, to be fair, the Cowboys secondary might be getting healthy. Deron Bland is healthy. I think he's expected to play. Trayvon Diggs should play. I don't know if that's a good thing for Dallas, but I think that Jordan Love should have time to throw even with the depleted offensive line. And when he's not pressured, he's awesome. So I feel okay about Love as a low-end starter this week.
Ask the question again. Same way.
How does that make Jordan Love safe?
It's the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay. It is the Dallas Cowboys. They give up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks. And Caleb Williams,
Russell Wilson just got benched.
I know. And Caleb Williams,
450 yards against this defense.
Caleb only threw 28 passes last week, and he had 37 fantasy points. So
this should be the layup of all layups. It really should be the layup of all layups. Dave said it best, though. You said it best. The amount of pass attempts, will they allow Jordan Love to have that type of game? They could easily get inside the 10, and Josh Jacobs getting touchdowns here. they could be sitting these guys in the fourth quarter because of what this defense is going to do to that Dallas offense. Like, this could be ugly. This could really be ugly. But I think you got to trust that Jordan Love does have a chance to be a very efficient and successful fantasy quarterback.
Do you remember the game he had against New Orleans last year?
No.
I've just brought it up. So that was the game that the Packers just annihilated the Saints. The Saints were terrible on both sides of the ball. He threw 28 passes in that game, and he still stunk. 16 of 28, 182 yards, 1 touchdown through the air.
He just wasn't very good last year. He's playing a lot
Right,
better.
he wasn't 100%.
Okay. Now, their line is beat up and was not good last week, but that was against the Browns. The Cowboys have no pass rush. Tucker Kraft is top 5. We've talked a lot about Matthew Golden. Go back to one question for each game, but Golden's a borderline. He's like a number 3 wide receiver. This could be his week. What about Dobbs and Wicks, Jamie? Any interest in them?
Absolutely. Not to say that they're must-start receivers, but again, you've seen what this passing game has looked like against this Dallas defense, what passing games have looked like against this Dallas defense. So there's just opportunities there. So you're talking again about desperation flex plays, guys that have a opportunity to be, in your lineup. So not a lot of huge names, but I would put them in the same conversation, same range as the Browns receivers. I mean, their matchup is better, and in some cases they performed better than the Browns receivers. Calvin Ridley, who's been a disappointment, you can make a case for the 2 Packers guys over them. It's just we haven't seen any consistency yet since Jaden Reed's absence, and it was 1 game against the Cleveland Browns. Like this is like a jailbreak for them. After facing that defense, would just clamp them down and they couldn't do anything.
Are you starting any Cowboys with confidence?
I'm starting Pickens.
And I'm okay with Javonte because he can catch passes.
Right.
And he could fall into the end zone.
So far, the Lions wide receivers were terrible against Green Bay. Terry McLaurin had 5 catches for 48 yards on 9 targets.
Yeah, Debo had a late touchdown.
Yeah, right. He didn't have that great of a game, but he did score. He's the only wide receiver to score double-digit PPR fantasy points against Green Bay. Debo Samuel is. So they've been terrific. But Pickens, man, got great opportunity. Ferguson is obviously a must-start. Ferguson ahead of Kraft, right?
Yes.
I started Ferguson. I'm sorry, I have ranked ahead of Trey McBride.
Oh, that might
Case
work out.
to be made for Ferguson to be the number 1 tight end, like in ranking. He if you take out McBride because he's already played, I don't think you can start anybody ahead of Ferguson in PPR.
If Bowers was not practicing in full and playing the Bears, I would have had Ferguson ranked number 1.
I think Heath does have Ferguson rank 1. But what I was going to say about Pickens is not only does he have this great opportunity, he's still getting so many end zone targets. He has 7. Now, update, he has 7 of Dallas's 13 end zone targets, and 3 of them were inside the 10-yard line. So he's got this nice end zone role. So George Pickens is about 21st for Jamie, 24th for Dave. Heath is a little bit lower on George Pickens, but everybody's got him as, basically a number 2 wide receiver. Pickens, I think, for Dave, no. For Jamie, yes, ahead of Brian Thomas Jr. Pickens or Pearsall?
Pearsall.
Pickens or I asked you Pickens or Javonte. I think you guys both said Pickens. Javonte or Scattaboo?
Scattaboo.
I think I might have Javonte higher, a couple spots higher.
I'm just concerned with this whole Dallas offense with
sure,
the 2 interior linemen missing. Like, down their center, down one of their guards against this defense, coming off of a loss, where they played their asses off and, should have won that game, holding them to no points through the first 4 quarters. Then the late turnovers or whatever special teams plays led to, the Browns getting those easy opportunities and winning the game. And you have Micah Parsons coming back to Dallas. Like, this would just be, it could be ugly. Like, you want to have Micah Parsons in IDP leagues this week.
Would you start Quinshon Judkins or Javonte Williams?
Judkins for me.
Javonte or Xavier Worthy?
Javonte.
Okay. Last one, Javonte or J.K. Dobbins, PPR?
Dobbins.
Okay. Let's go to our last game. Start the Packers DST. Washington's at Atlanta. I won't give you the stat of the game. It's kind of boring. So let's go to the quarterback situation here. If Jaden Daniels plays, he's a must start, but he's, maybe going to be playing with a knee brace. So would you start Jaden Daniels or Jordan Love?
Daniels.
I start Daniels.
Drake May.
Daniels.
Caleb Williams.
Caleb
Williams.
And I have that decision to make myself.
All right, Mariota or Jordan Love?
Jordan Love.
I think it's got to be Mariota. I don't know if I have it ranked that way, but I'm
Even
thinking
without
about it in my
McLaurin.
head. I think Mariota's the better play.
All right. I mean, I could see that with McLaurin. Without McLaurin could be tough, but he has scored. He's played 3 games last year and this year with the Commanders. He scored 22.3 or more fantasy points in all of them in 6-point per passing touchdown leagues. Falcons, though, the Falcons allow their top 6 in terms of fewest fantasy points allowed against quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. And they've faced Tampa Bay, Minnesota, and Carolina. So kind of a mix of matchups there.
And that 30 points was not on them, on the defense.
Correct.
Exactly. So they've had a pretty good defense so far, but they don't have A.J. Terrell, which is a big deal. How are we feeling about the Commanders running backs, Jamie?
Well, if Bill Krosky-Merritt is healthy, it's an easy stay away from all of them because last week was not the answer we were looking for, even though they told us some things. They told us that Rodriguez will be the starter. They told us that McNichols and Krosky-Merritt will work in. But blowout victory, big play for McNichols, carry leader for Rodriguez. Like, it's messy. And until you get some clarity. Now, that being said, if there is no Krosky-Merritt, Rodriguez comes into play as a flex because I think he'll get enough opportunities in what I hopefully will be a competitive game just because we want to see the Falcons offensive players do well. Then maybe McNichols does take advantage of the Eckler absence and does become the passing downs back because we got 1 target for running back last week. It was Krosky-Merritt. And so the other 2 guys did not get an opportunity in the passing game, despite however many routes they may have run. So we'll find out, hopefully, again, before the mailbag, but you'll get an answer from us on CBSSports.com if Krosky-Merritt's in or out. So Krosky-Merritt in, avoid at all costs, I think. Krosky-Merritt out, Rodriguez low and flex.
Do you think Deebo Samuel is just like a Buka, just absolute must start right now? Yeah. So who do you like better?
Not to the same level, but yes.
They're not far behind for me. Deebo, 2 of 3 games so far, very good. 1 bad game, though, did come with Mariota, but again, blowout victory. Probably would be more involved. Like you said, no A.J. Terrell. We didn't get to see what the Panthers passing game would have done potentially because of just not having to do very much. So I think Deebo, given the benefit of the doubt of what he's shown and the opportunity without McLaurin, like there could be a huge uptick in targets for him if, in fact, they have to throw a little bit more than they did last week.
Imagine a world
and desperation play, Luke McCaffrey, just based on his chances if there is no McLaurin.
Imagine if there's no McLaurin and no Bill. How much more could fall into Deebo's hands in that case?
Sure. By the way, Emeka Egbuka, speaking of which, he's the only wide receiver to score more than 11.1 PPR fantasy points against the Falcons. That includes Mike Evans, Justin Jefferson, and Tedderell McMillan. But again, no A.J. Terrell. So how do you feel about Zach Ertz? Why isn't Zach Ertz higher with McLaurin? I mean, McLaurin has not been ruled out, by the way, but we're assuming he's out. But why isn't he in your top 12? He's basically borderline. I think he's 12th for you, Dave, 13th?
He's 12th for me. He's still a touchdown or bust tight end. That's why he's not higher. But he would absolutely benefit if there's no Terry and no Bill.
He should. And again, this is a little bit hypocritical for me because both Deebo and Ertz did not play well with Mariota last week or produce well with Mariota last week. I'm going back to Deebo without hesitation because McLaurin most likely out. And even with McLaurin most likely out, giving the Falcons a little bit of credit for what they've done against tight ends so far this season. So they're number 1 at the position. Right. Granted, they haven't faced a lot of great tight ends, and Sanders got hurt last week, so you want to factor that in as well. But I think just this is not a bad week for tight ends, and Ertz just not a top 12 guy for me.
Could you see 5 for 50 for Ertz?
Sure.
So that I feel like that's what he's going to deliver. And so you can weigh other tight ends against that and say, all right, can Mark Andrews do better than that? Could Brenton Strange do better than that? And that's how you can judge your tight end decisions that involve Zach Ertz.
Yeah, but I think he caught a touchdown in both games with Mariota last year. Yeah, he did. He had 40 to 44 yards and a touchdown in both games. Mariota threw 21 passes last week, and Terry McLaurin played. So I'm deciding between Zach Ertz and Travion Henderson in a PPR flex spot.
You know who's more fun between?
I'm undecided. Yeah,
I mean, this is the Henderson breakout game, dude.
I hope so.
That's probably where we'll go. I have a co-manager, Dustin. Shout out in our FFT league. All right, to the Falcons. Sit Michael Penix. Start Bijan Robinson.
I gotta run, guys.
All right, Drake London.
Stay hydrated. Keep it light yellow.
Drake London versus Deebo Samuel. Jamie, who do you like?
I like Deebo Samuel.
Drake London or George Pickens?
I think right now I have Pickens ranked higher, but I may change that.
Okay. We got a question in the chat before I forget. Deebo or A.J. Brown?
A.J. Brown.
Okay. And any interest in Mooney?
To stash, yes. To play, no. Until I see something better from Penix and Mooney himself right now, the only receiving option I would start for the Falcons is Drake London. I would not start Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I mean, Pitts is not that bad. You know, he's 7.7 or more points in all 3 games without a touchdown.
4 catches in every game.
Yeah, and it's super low ADOT, 5.5 yard ADOT, which is great for a floor. You know, it's probably not great for his ceiling, but if he's 68% rostered. If you're desperate at tight end, you know, when your targets are that short, you're going to catch a lot of them and you're going to have that PPR floor. Okay. And Washington's DST, you guys have in the top 10. So that's a 49% roster DST. Falcons allow the 8th most fantasy points to DSTs, mostly just because of last week.
Yep.
All right. Thank you all very much for watching and listening. And we will be back shortly with the mailbag at noon Eastern, or you'll hear it on Saturday. And then, of course, Sunday, remember, we got the FFT Express really early. I think we're going to do that at 7:45. Then 8:30, we're on the air for an hour. Then there's the London game. Then we're back from noon to 1. All of that's at youtube.com/fantasyfootball today. Good luck, everybody. See ya.